And stream, just let me know when there's like maybe 10 seconds to go. 20. Yeah. So in 10 seconds, I'll just start it.
City. Look out! Puts it the right end. Jordan Rapallo!
And it's Murray's time in the sunshine of centre court once again.
He's got it! The Tigers have won by a point!
Hello and welcome to the final score here at La Trobe University for upstart.net.au. Remember, if it's a sporting event that's been finished over the weekend or over the past week, we're going to be talking about it here on the final score. I'm your host, Val Febo, here with you. Joel Fritchie, writer for Outside 90, editor for Outside 90 as well, and one of my dear co-hosts on Breakpoint Podcasts is here. Joel, how are you going?
Good, mate. How are you?
I'm fantastic. What was your moment of the sporting week?
FFA Cup, mate. Loved it. Green Gully knocked off Central Coast, of course. Big upset. And then Redlands United, to cap that off, they beat Adelaide, the reigning A-League champions. Yeah,
that was unbelievable, wasn't it? What a howler from Eugene Galekovic. We'll get to that definitely after. But Ryan, the Prophet Tennyson, is here, another one of my co-hosts on Breakpoint Podcast, and also casual reporter at the Herald Sun, smashing down barriers at the moment. Ryan, how are you going?
Good, thanks, mate. How are you?
I'm fantastic. And your moment of the week?
In the NRL, mate, Melbourne Storm are now on top of the ladder after a stunning 15-14 win against South Sydney. Cam Smith kicking the field goal there to give them the win.
Yeah, they were brilliant, weren't they? That's 6 wins in a row now for the Storm, so playing very, very well. Another man who was here last week, Rudy Edsel. Rudy, how you going, mate?
Good, Val. Lovely
Triple
to be
M,
here.
Greenfield Post, doing everything, mate.
Oh, mate, I'm dominating all media.
Fantastic. What was your moment of the week?
My moment of the week is the 41-year-old Uzbeki gymnast. I believe her name's pronounced Oksana Chuzovitna. She's been to 7 Olympics. Firstly, in 1992 with the unified team for the ex-Soviet, Central European nations. She has at national level represented Uzbekistan, Germany, and the Soviet Union. That's how long she's been around for.
Far out.
And she's survived leukemia. She's
Good on her.
41 years old in an event where most people are retired by 18. It's pretty remarkable stuff.
Oh, she'd be twice the age of many of the athletes there now. So phenomenal effort from her. And Josh, the prodigy, Captain Chem, I'm not going to go through all your nicknames, mate. Another one of my co-hosts on Breakpoint. How you going?
I'm not too bad, Val.
That's fantastic. And what was your moment of the week?
Highlight of the week, unfortunately no relation to myself, but the Campbell sisters dominated the helping with the 4x100 victory and breaking the world record as well.
Yeah, they were phenomenal, weren't they? Absolutely brilliant.
Fantastic.
And no relation.
No relation, unfortunately.
You should just say they are.
Oh, yeah. Get a few drinks at the bar, probably.
Yeah, probably. Maybe, that's all. That's the panel today. And my highlight of the week, probably Novak Djokovic getting knocked out of the first round of the Olympics, as Ryan would be very thrilled about. But first off, just quickly, the men's 4x100 relay freestyle has just finished, and the Americans have got up. They won the gold there with France in second, and Australia with Cam McAvoy and James Magnussen in that team coming in third, just pipping the Russians at the end. And it's Phelps' 19th gold medal, is it?
It's just an astonishing effort.
It's phenomenal. So, Michael Phelps just continuing to dominate the Olympics and the pool. So, and I reckon he'll probably get a couple more gold medals going forward as well, definitely.
Yeah, which is an incredible thought, considering Michael Phelps is now 31. Swimming's another one of those sports, like most Olympic sports, where the retirement age is quite young.
Yeah, and this is what, 4th or 5th Olympics now? So he's been 5th Olympics now. So he's been around for a very, very long time and used to rival Ian Thorpe, and now he's unrivaled. So fantastic effort from Michael Phelps. But the main one, Australia doing extremely well to start this Olympic campaign, and it was first up Mac Horton, the 400-metre freestyle gold medal but afterwards it probably should have been more of a celebrated moment, but afterwards it's turned into a bit of a debacle for him, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, I think the thing with this is, you look at it on one side, maybe a bit unprofessional, but you look at it on the other side with Sun Yang, and I think, this guy is a bit of a bully, and maybe Max just cracked.
Well, what happened is that Sun Yang, the silver medalist from China, was actually banned in 2014 for taking an illicit substance. So it turned out it was a hearts and glucose tablet, which is illegal, and served his ban. And afterwards, Mac Horton declared it a win for the good guys and for clean athletes. Now, do you guys think what he said was correct? Do you think he should have said it, or do you think he probably should have just left everything unsaid there?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but hasn't the Chinese swimmer served his ban for the doping infringement?
Well, he has, but still, he's still a drug cheat.
Yeah, but I mean, he's done his time for it. Why? Well, what's the point of bringing the accusations up again? He's done his time. He's back swimming. Like, there's no indication that he's not clean now. I think it's a little bit a touch petulant, perhaps.
Yeah, I still think.
Mac.
Well,
in terms of mind games, it must have worked.
Yeah.
I think Max said in his head that the last 15 metres, he knew after all that he'd said beforehand, there was no way he could lose to him. And he could feel it in his body that he wanted to stop. But that motivation to know that if he lost to someone after making those comments kind of pushed him to keep going.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I think we were talking off air that Sun Yang was sort of in a bullying mood. He was trying to taunt Horton when he was training and trying to stop training and things like that as well.
Yeah, well, maybe Val, this is Mac's sort of return serve. Maybe this is him trying to get in Sun's head.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he interrupted the in the heats warm up for Horton. He interrupted the practice, the warm up there. So I think he deserves everything he's copying, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I think so too. But with this, and the Chinese fans have actually gone onto Mac Horton's Instagram and Facebook pages, and when he's posted something, they've called
also
him.
gone into Englishman Mark Horton as well, and caused a bit
Exactly.
of controversy there.
They go to the wrong people, don't they? It's sort of like back in the World Cup 2014 when they tried to attack Marcelo for conceding an own goal for Brazil, but they went to the British model instead. But also, they've called Mac Horton ugly, a loser, and a disgrace to the Olympics. I think that's appalling.
Yeah, Tosh.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone deserves that.
And to be honest, I respect Mac Horton for saying what he said.
What?
You respect Mac Horton for saying what he said, but you can't have the way Nick Kyrgios carries himself.
Yeah, but Kyrgios is an idiot.
Kyrgios is an idiot. For
The way he conducts himself on court is appalling. And we've said this on Breakpoint heaps.
How is that worse than being such a an
Horton
ungracious
respects
winner
his
at the
sport.
Olympics?
Horton respects his sport and respects the Olympics. And Kyrgios,
He respects his sport. He's called a fellow competitor a drug cheat.
which he is.
He is a drug cheat.
He's a drug
but
cheat.
he served his time.
But he's still a drug
served his
cheat.
time and finished
It's
it.
like Essendon. They'll still be drug cheats.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I'm very black and white with this sort of stuff. Like if you've been convicted, you're a drug cheat.
I'm just going to stay silent on the whole Essendon thing. So
Yeah,
carry on, guys.
The Essendon thing we
Joel will
don't.
stay here and
The
hold it.
Essendon thing we
Like
do
it
not
up.
need to talk about.
I just think it's a bit rough to draw a line in the behaviour there and
Yeah.
say, and also he's not drawing a line in the sand about the sport. He's just biting back at a guy he doesn't like. I don't, you know what I mean. I think.
Yeah, but I think there's a big difference to the way he conducted himself and the way Nick Kyrgios conducts himself. I think there's a massive, massive difference. Kyrgios does it
I'm
week
not
in,
so
week
sure.
out. This week he did.
How do you know Mac Horton doesn't do this week in, week out? When was the last time he was in the news?
I don't know,
His sport is perhaps less relevant than Nick Kyrgios.
yeah, that's true. But you'd have heard of you heard of Nick Darcy, like the bad boy of swimming and things like that. So you
because
won't.
he got convicted in court for breaking.
Yeah,
down
I know
glass
that.
door.
I know that much. But yeah, I definitely don't think Mac Horton's on a level of Nick Kyrgios. 100%.
All right, fair enough. We might have to continue this off air.
Definitely, we will. It's definitely a massive, massive issue. And for Mac Horton fans, well, he's I think is he in the 1500 meter as well?
Yes,
I believe he
yes,
is.
Yeah, he is against Sun Yang as well. So
Yeah, and Sun this
two.
morning has declared himself the king of the 1500, just to add a bit more fuel to the fire.
here we go. Imagine Mac Horton wins again. That
Hope
is
he
gonna.
does.
Call him a cheat again.
Oh,
Dare ya.
I hope it happens. Apparently, if you call Sun Yang a drug cheat on Twitter, if you go on and tweet that, you get a bound of abuse from Chinese
I noticed
fans.
a lot of snake emojis amongst those tweets. Did anyone else notice that? Snakes and peaches. or something.
Yeah,
Really?
Peaches.
I don't
Yeah.
understand it at all. But quickly, also the 4x100 freestyle in the women's, we got the gold there. The Campbell sisters were brilliant, as Josh said, and Catherine Skinner. Gold in trap shooting, so phenomenal there. And the medal tally, quickly, China on top, sitting 3 gold, 2 silver, and a couple bronze, but with the standings, the bronze don't come into account when the same gold medals. So Australia second, 3 gold, 0 silver. America sitting in third after their second gold, Italy sitting in fourth, and South Korea sitting in fifth. But also, moving on, we've got Marissa Lordanic here, a very special guest here, talking about all things soccer today, or football. You'll probably get upset at me for saying that. But you're a writer and editor for Outside 90 as well, like Joel, and we're here talking about the Matildas who are at Rio at the moment. 2-0 loss to Canada and a 2-2 draw with Germany, definitely significant improvement there. But after losing to Canada, it was definitely a shock loss. Not many people thought that would happen, but how did the Matildas improve against the Germans, who are world number 2 at the moment?
Well, it was a marked improvement across the pitch, because I think the most important improvement was, first of all, we didn't concede in the opening 20 seconds, which is always, a very good way to start a game. And just the girls looked like they meant business. There was a lot of comments saying that the players were almost not overawed, but the emotions of the opening game really got to them, and perhaps that just minute loss of focus affected them against Canada, whereas against Germany, they knew what they were doing, they were ready to go, and it was just a much more improved performance all around.
Yep, and the way that they played as well, I think they were a lot more composed, as you said.
Also that's probably to do with the fact that they were playing against 11 players. It's kind of a old football cliche where they say it's harder to play against 10, which they did against Canada, which when you are playing against 10, it definitely throws your systems out of whack and your formations out of whack. So being able to play against 11 players against Germany, they were able to just do what they were meant to do. They knew what they had to do, and it was, it worked.
A lot better, definitely.
Until like the 87th minute.
Yeah, I know. Late equaliser there in the 88th. Not very good. But Alana Kennedy, one of the Matildas, had this to say after the match against Germany and after the improvement.
Obviously, early on, I think we put them under pressure, and getting that early goal was great, and then obviously frustrating to concede in the times that we did.
So that's Alana Kennedy there. But they play Zimbabwe next. How high are their chances of qualifying for the next stage of the Olympics?
They're not impossible, but they definitely have not made it easy for themselves. So basically the situation is there's 3 groups of 4. The top 2 teams progress to the quarterfinals, and the 2 best ranked third teams progress. Currently, we're the 3rd best third ranked team. So ideally, we need to beat Zimbabwe emphatically and hope for a loss to, let me check, France. France need to lose, and...
Was it China that need to lose as well?
No. Sorry, this is my bad. France and China need to win. They need to beat Sweden and New Zealand, respectively, who are currently the best 2 third-ranked teams.
All right, hopefully New Zealand can take our place.
I don't think they'll do us any favours.
Take it, yeah, you never know. But so their coach, Alan Stajic, is also quite positive about how their chances are, and he's positive that they can get through to the next stage.
They're a tough team, and we have to ensure we end up on 4 points, and 4 points on a good goal difference is possibly a good chance of going through.
So that's the Matildas there. Hopefully they can get through. That's their manager, Alan Stajic. But moving on, sticking with football at the moment, the FFA Cup, that brought some tears to many people's eyes last week, with 2 A-League clubs losing, and Central Coast, one of them, lost to Green Gully out near Keilor. The Liam Boland strike from pretty much halfway between the centre circle and the box. How good was that?
That was incredible.
That was phenomenal. I was lucky enough to be there, and just the atmosphere when he scored was incredible, like undescribable.
Yeah, you could hear them and the way they jumped on him, and it was in such a late moment of the game to pull something like that out at that point. It's just brilliant.
The best thing about it for me was that he tweeted Ned Zalic during the week and said he was going to try some individual brilliance just for him. It was awesome.
What did Ned Zalic say to that?
He said something like, "Excellent, can't wait to see it." Nothing exciting.
And he would have been very excited when it actually happened. But also, Adelaide United, A-League premiers from last season, knocked out by Redlands after a Eugene Galekovic howler.
This was the story for me. Frankly, I pretty much expected Green Gully to beat Central Coast. I saw that coming. But Adelaide, it was always going to be interesting to see how they went. I think they've lost 7 players from that grand final side. And yeah, it was a disjointed display at best, and you wouldn't say Redlands necessarily deserved to get through, but Galekovic, for a leader of the club, boy oh boy, that was terrible.
Yeah, well, this was a complete debacle for Adelaide guys. You look at that team, and they've lost so many stars. They had 13 fit players for that game, 13. So it was a whole lot of kids playing in that game. They had it wrapped up when Ryan Kiddo scored that goal. and you get to the 94th minute, you think you're home and hosed. But for Eugene Galekovic to do that, after he said that everyone needed to play a role and that the experienced players would help the kids.
Not good at all. And
for him to do that was unbelievable. And then for them to concede in extra time.
Oh,
wow.
Just shocking. But also, the Matt Chandler, the Redlands coach, had this to say after the match.
Yeah, as I said to the boys now, very proud to be their coach. I thought we were resilient in the first half. Obviously, Adelaide scored first, but look, we never stopped believing and we got the goal.
Awesome. To see like an upset like that happen. And this is the beauty of the FFA Cup. You can see these teams face A-League teams and possibly win, which is, I think that's the best part about the competition.
Yeah, I think those results pretty much justified the FFA Cup as a competition,
definitely.
really.
Yeah, and something I loved as well, just quickly, Val, the Redlands team had a photo up of, I believe it was a news article during the week, of former Adelaide coach John Kosmina saying he was backing Adelaide to, I think, quote, destroy Redlands.
There you go. Well, that's a perfect way to leave it. They didn't destroy them. Adelaide got destroyed themselves, I guess. But the AFL, move on to the footy here. And it was a really, really interesting weekend. And I think game of the round, if not upset of the round and possibly the upset of the season, Melbourne beating Hawthorn for the first time since round 8, 2006, 110-81. They truly dominated the last quarter. It was a really high contested affair. And, well, guys, what a win.
Yeah, it was pretty outrageous stuff. You had Melbourne fans in tears, and people that can't remember the last time they'd beaten Hawthorn. They've been beaten up by Hawthorn for a long time. Lots of really big losses over the journey, and they were just far and away the better side on the day.
Yeah. How fantastic was Max Gawn in that fourth quarter?
Oh, he was brilliant.
8 contested marks in that fourth quarter. And it's absolutely insane.
16 hit-outs to advantage for the whole match, so he was brilliant.
He didn't take 8 contested marks in a single quarter.
It was 8 contested marks in a single quarter. In
In
that fourth quarter.
I am pretty sure that's wrong. I think he took 8 for the game.
He took 8 for the game?
I think Rudy's right on that one.
Okay.
Because 8 in a quarter, that's
that would be
like
ridiculous.
People
that would be the greatest.
Maybe 8 marks in the last quarter.
It may have been 8 marks in the last quarter.
But yeah, absolutely brilliant. This is what Max Gawn had to say after the match. He was in a very, very happy mood.
3 or 4 times this year, we've been in games against top 4 teams and fade away in the fourth quarter, and that was our best fourth quarter probably for years. So I'm proud of the boys. We had some young guys out there, Wiedemann, Oliver, Petrarca, Brayshaw, all these guys, they kept going.
And that's the thing. Melbourne's young kids. Sam Wiedemann played his first game the other day, but then they've got Petrarca, Oliver, Brayshaw. There's so many of them. Jack Watts is playing some great footy. Jesse Hogan, you throw him into the team, he's going to, bring them forward a little bit. And then, it's brilliant at the moment.
But things didn't start all that well. I mean, Hogan was a late exclusion there.
Exactly.
Bring Pedersen in. So, I mean, if you're a Melbourne fan, you're going, oh, here we go, not again. But it ended up working well for them.
Pedersen actually played his role quite well as well.
Hogan's missed 3 games since he's debuted, and one of them was the win against Geelong in Geelong last year, and then one of them's that one on the other day. So maybe
he needs to leave.
Bad luck charm, the bad omen.
No, he's still their leading goal kicker, so I think they'd love to have him in the team more often than not. He's a superstar.
Probably fit him in somewhere.
Yeah, he's a superstar, Jesse Hogan. But for Melbourne, and we spoke to Billy Stretch on Upstart Live yesterday, and he was quite happy after the win, and he said that everyone's starting to fill their role really well, and I think having Paul Roos for the past 3 years has really helped their development as a club. And he's only got 3 games left, but what do you guys think that he's done for the club over that period of time?
I think most importantly, he's changed the culture. The whole tanking thing from 3-4 years ago seems to be long and forgotten by now.
He more or less reset them as a club. I remember watching them in his first couple of games, and they looked like a team that were learning how to play football. Like, he'd sort of said to them, don't worry about conceding scores, just try and see if you can kick the ball to one another. That's what it looked like early on, and he built them defensively. Just before he came in, they were a dreadful defensive side, conceding massive scores all the time. And then when he came in, he sort of set them, and he's built them from the back, and now they've got a sort of functioning forward line with Jesse Hogan as the focal point of his.
And they're a great run and gun team. They move the ball really well.
Yeah, and that certainly wasn't something that they were known for a few years ago. In fact, I think they were probably one of the most static sides coming off halfback.
Yeah. They were one of the, it was one of the hardest teams to watch, definitely.
And I think it also helped that he was able to instill confidence into some key ball movers like Jack Watts. He was sort of a ridiculed player early on in his career, and I think he sort of found his feet here with Roos.
He's having a career season, by the way, Jack Watts. He's actually been ridiculous for Melbourne this year. He's
been awesome. And also at Brisbane as well, quickly... before we get to Hawthorn, I think Brisbane, it's a big loss. And Rudy, you said you're excited that Adelaide would break some records last week. It was their highest score, 1 point off their highest win in their history, and 1 point off Brisbane's highest loss in their history. So
it tells you a bit about Brisbane's history. They can lose by 138 points, and it's not their biggest ever.
Yeah, well, that was to St Kilda back in the last round of 05 when Stephen Milne kicked 11. So,
oh yeah,
but geez, it was not a good night for the Lions, and they started the first 10 minutes, maybe they were in the game sort of, and then Adelaide just blew it out of the water.
You just knew that fadeaway was coming.
It's happened every week with Brisbane.
Yeah, they are probably the side that I've never seen a side that so clearly needs a change up in every department. They need to get rid of a bunch of players. They need to get rid of their coach. They need to get rid of the CEO, the president. I think they just need to clean everything out and start again at Brisbane. It's hard to see any future for them at the moment.
Yeah, well,
do we think they're going to fold?
Well, realistically, at this point now, it looks like they're more likely to fold than they are to make the finals. You know what I mean? Like, it's that bad.
Anytime soon. I think they should just move them back to Fitzroy. I've spent a lot of time working in pubs in Fitzroy, and the amount of passion for Freo out there tells me that there is a massive market for terrible footy teams. So let's move Brisbane home.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking to see because this team was a powerhouse at the start of the last decade, and it's just been sort of they didn't play finals from 05, 06, 7, 8, but then they got there in 09 with a pretty mediocre team. But we thought, 2013, they were sort of on the up, and then since then it's just been downhill. It's really been disappointing from Brisbane, and hopefully for Lepic's sake, I do like him, and he said that the AFL hasn't backed them at all.
I agree with him 100%.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like, because they did everything they could to help Melbourne, but they're not. It doesn't seem like they're doing much for Brisbane.
Don't forget they had quite a lot of salary cap concessions when they won.
That's
three
true.
Consecutive flags. I think it's possibly a bit rich to say the AFL hasn't helped them at all. They could certainly do more now. But,
back then they did, but
the
now
thing is they're propping up a team in Queensland. They're propping up a team in Western Sydney.
Yeah.
How many teams do they have to prop up, the AFL?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's Brisbane for you now. Like, it's going to be a very interesting end to the season for them to see how they go. But quickly, Hawthorn, losing that game, they were two games clear at the top of the ladder. Now they're only one. Margin for error has decreased amazingly so.
And they have probably the hardest run home at any team inside the top 8 as well.
Except for North.
North have a pretty difficult run. But the ramifications for Hawthorn losing, their run home is North Melbourne, which I think they'll win. West Coast away. So I don't think they'll win that. I think West Coast at home are very hard to beat.
I think West Coast, I don't know.
I don't know. That's an interesting game, but Collingwood, Hawthorn will beat. But if they lose one of those games, their percentage is that low. If Geelong, Adelaide, Sydney, and GWS all win, they can jump above Hawthorn.
Yeah, I think that's the sixth best percentage in the comp at the moment. And,
they're lucky they're 3 games ahead.
The margin of error is very slim, like you said, and I think their win-loss record, in my opinion, this season is a bit of a furphy. It's not really necessarily showing where they're at as a club.
Yeah,
showing how good they are in fourth quarters.
Well, yeah, they've won pretty much every tight game. They kind of remind me of Geelong in 2014 when they finished second. You could tell that they weren't really a top club.
Well, they lost in straight sets in the finals that year.
Yeah, and you could tell the whole season they weren't a top club, but they just kept winning those tight games, and I think Hawthorn are in a pretty similar position.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and like they're fantastic in those tight situations, and as we've seen, they won 3 games in a row by 3 points.
Yeah, the other thing about Hawthorn is, though, that even if they do drop to 6th, I wouldn't necessarily rule them out from winning the flag.
No. Well, I think this is the year that someone will, if anyone's to win it outside the top 4, I think someone can do it this year.
Yeah, I would have said that a few weeks ago, but I feel like the gulf is really opening up again. I think that...
I think down to 6th. I think West Coast and North, I'm ruling them out.
And I would rule out the Bulldogs as well.
And the Dogs as well,
so
with their injuries.
5 teams.
So 5 teams,
Personally, I don't think Hawthorn or Adelaide are up to it. For me, it's...
Well, the Crows is different, but...
Well, I think the Giants have never played finals football before.
But they're playing some... Like, they've got Johnson, Mumford, Shaw, all 3 premiership players that can...
Actually, you're right. I think I'll rule out the Giants as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Sydney and Geelong grand final.
I think Geelong's going to win it this year still. And
so do I.
You're a Geelong fan, though. I'm unbiased here. Richmond's got no chance, so I reckon, Geelong's definitely. I reckon Geelong's...
They got a win, Val.
Yeah,
they did win on Friday night.
So, yeah, but that's one win out of 2 horrible losses. So
scored as much in 3 quarters as I have in the last 2 matches.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, let's move on from Richmond's poor performance. We'll go to the NRL, where our Melbourne club is doing absolutely beautifully. Melbourne Storm, top of the ladder, beat South Sydney 15-14. Cameron Smith, Golden Point, and they've won 6 in a row. And this is the commentary after the game. I thought this was quite amusing.
Talk about Pokemon. Well, if he was a Pokemon, it'd be a legendary type.
That's brilliant. Well done, Andrew Voss, for that. And Cameron Smith, legendary type. That's all you can say, really, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. You got the Melbourne, Queensland and Australian captain. First of all, he kicked a penalty from about 40 metres out to put the game into overtime. Golden Point. And then out of dummy half, picks the ball up. All the South Sydney were running at Cooper Cronk, expecting him to take the kick.
Because he usually does.
Yeah, and that's the standard play. You pass it back. But he took it out of dummy half and had the shot himself. And lo and behold, it went over and he won the game.
He's brilliant, isn't he? And obviously top of the ladder with Cronulla losing 30-14 to Canberra. So in the run home, there's about 5 weeks left, isn't there? So it's, Storm have really got a chance now to cement that spot at the top. And without Billy Slater too, they're doing this. So you got to remember, if you throw him back into the team, which he won't come back this season, but geez, it's a good problem to have.
Oh, I mean, Cameron Munster steps into that role superbly. He's definitely the next best thing at fullback. But also what's been really big for the Melbourne Storm, I think, is the fact that a lot of the young guys have been able to sort of explode onto the scene. Vunivalu's just a freak out there on the wing, the big Fijian. So, I mean, when a legend goes down, the others can step up.
And that's exactly what's happened with Storm this year. They've been absolutely brilliant. And we'll move on now from Storm, but the cricket. Australia, another dismal loss to Sri Lanka again. Spin, the undoing, a 229-run loss there. 8 losses in a row now in Asia. Not good at all.
Humiliating defeat for the Aussies. It's the second series they've ever lost to Sri Lanka. And frankly, I'm not really convinced that Sri Lanka are that good. Rangana Herath is a world-class bowler. I don't really rate any of their other bowlers, and I don't really rate pretty much any of their batsmen except Angelo Matthews.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter if you can spin a ball at all. Like, you're just going to bamboozle the Australians. They batted gormlessly. I think they didn't even make a full day's worth of batting in 2 innings. No one made a 50. It's the first time since 1997.
There were 33 wickets in 2 days of cricket.
Yeah, it finished before tea on day 3. Yeah. It's, I think, the 3rd shortest test ever that's had all 40 wickets taken in it. And I think the person who should feel most sickened by it is Mitch Starc. He bowled several world-class spells. He took 11 for 94.
On a spinning wicket.
Yeah, in Asia. That's an incredible effort. And I think that he should just feel betrayed by the batsman. And it was interesting to me after the game, they spoke to Darren Lehman and Steve Smith, and they both said, we really need to get better at bowling spin. And I'm not sure that's the answer.
It's not bowling spin, it's batting against spin.
Clearly batting that's an issue there. They've been rolled for under 200, I think 3 digs out of 4 now.
Yeah.
And it's just...
And Dave Warner actually had a better match, but he just came out and attacked, didn't he?
Well,
40s in both innings.
He was the top scorer for Australia in both innings.
But Joe Burns has had a series to forget. Steve Smith hasn't been that great this series.
Joe Burns, I think his level is state cricket, and I feel the same about Adam Voges. I think that his remarkable stats are padded a bit by the quality of the opposition, and I think Australia's got big holes in their batting lineup.
Yeah, well, I think when South Africa come down here in November, I think that's when we'll probably see a little bit of change. Do you reckon?
Well, hopefully. I'm not sure. South Africa are a shadow of their former selves. I think that this current Australian 11 would handle South Africa pretty comfortably in Australian conditions, to be honest.
No worries. And, it'd be very, very interesting to see what happens. And, Rangana Herath hat-trick in the first innings, again, signalling the problems. And MDK Pereira, another spinner, man of the match, 10 wickets. So,
well, to give you an idea, of the 40 Australian wickets that have fallen so far in this series, 36 have been to spin.
Wow, there you go. And, they pretty much they can just open with the spin and Australia will struggle. So... not very good at all. But quickly moving on before we go, Nick Kyrgios in the tennis this morning wins his 2nd career title over John Isner 7-6, 7-6 in the Atlanta final.
Nick's my boy. I love him.
I know you love him. That's why you had a go at me before. I knew you were going to have a go at me for that. But Isner was on a 12-match winning streak in Atlanta before today, and Kyrgios is the first non-American, I think, since 2010 to actually win the title. So great.
How great is he? Get around him.
Well, that's the frustrating thing. If he can play like that every week, he's going to win title.
He's back inside the top 20 as well.
Yeah, he was in the top 20 anyway.
He was
18th. He'll move up to Tomic is 21st. Kyrgios is 18th. He'll move up to about 16th in the rankings this week.
He needs some good leadership in his camp, Nick Kyrgios. He could be an absolute superstar. He just needs some decent leadership.
But the problem is, like, he's going to have to choose his own leaders.
Exactly. But if you do want to hear more about that, you can tune into Breakpoint Podcast on Wednesday with myself, Joel, Ryan and Josh. But that's about it for the final score today. Josh, Marissa, Rudy, Ryan, Joel, thank you for coming on the show today. This is Val Febo here with you at Upstart on the final score. Tune in next week at 1 p.m. for all the latest sports news and issues. Thank you.
Murray's time in the sunshine of centre court once again.
He's got it! The Tigers have won by a point!
It's just asking me to save. Yeah, save.